Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new books by indie authors. Your hostess for today's show is Diann Floyd Boehm. We hope you do enjoy today's show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Indie Beacon Radio Show. I am so excited to be with you tonight. I am your host, author, Diann Floyd Boehm, and I'm here to introduce to you this fabulous, internationally well-known, award-winning author, C.J. Peterson. Welcome to the show, C.J.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're so excited to have you. Before we get started with all the incredible work you're doing, could you give a little bit of background about yourself so people know who you are?
Well, I'm an author, blogger, podcaster, and publisher. Multi-podcasts, multi-blogs, and I'm co-owner of Texas Sisters Press with my sister. I have 16 novels, a novella, and in 3 anthologies and 2 children's books out. And I have 8 awards right now.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you share with people what a novella is all about?
Yeah, a novella is a little bit bigger than a short story, not quite as big as a novel. And in this instance, what I used it for was I have a Christmas story that wraps up I call them the Team Angel series, which is Grace Restored series, 5 books, a standalone called Strength from Within, the Holy Flame Trilogy, which is 3, and Divine Legacy series, which is 4. So I was going to be done after Divine Legacy series, but I thought, one more good Christmas story would help. And it's kind of like a twist on It's a Wonderful Life. And what it does is the main character is with Michael the Archangel, and there's like a shadow self, in other words, an alternate universe self. And the two have to figure out together unanimously which reality to pick. And so you get to see both sides of if she wasn't an angel or if she was. And an angel is available to nurture God's eternal love. That group gets their assignments from the archangel who ships them out in the world to help people. So she's done a whole lot of good. And so the alternate angel is like, what's your problem? And she has a lot of stress because she's overwatched over the American teams, and she also has 2 children, and she's pregnant with twins that are due like any time. So she's a little overloaded. So, reality sets in. So this kind of is a unique twist on it.
It certainly is. And do you ever sleep?
Yes, I do. But I tell people my brain is like a blend of OCD and ADD, and I've just learned to work with it. And some people fight it. I don't. I just let all 20 windows go up in my brain. Somewhere's playing music, that sort of thing. And I don't know where it's coming from. That's how my brain works.
What I love about your novella, to me, it sounds like a novel because there's a lot to it, is the way you came up with the idea for the did you say alternative universe?
It's kind of like an alternative reality.
Reality, okay. But the fact that in truth, I think most people believe that we know that we have angels watching over us that have certain duties. And you were able to take this concept, which I actually believe happens to be true, and turn it into a story for not only fun for us to read, but also for us to learn about. Would that be correct to say?
Yeah, well, it's kind of spiritual warfare on this plane. Within all of the series that I mentioned, the characters actually cross over storylines. So you get another part of a different character story in a different series. But in this, I tell people the spiritual realm has crossed into the physical. So, where there's dark, there's light, there's angels, there's demons, and they're dealing with it on this plane. So it gives you like a unique twist on spiritual warfare.
Incredible, incredible. And tell everyone again the name of that series.
Well, I call them the Team Angel series, but there's Strength from Within, which is standalone, Grace Restored series, which is 5, Holy Flame Trilogy, which is 3, Divine Legacy, which is 4, and then the Christmas novella called Christmas Angels.
Thank you so much. And you mentioned also you do blogging.
I do, but before we jump there, I just had a trilogy that launched also this year.
I know. I so want to talk about that. So let's go ahead and go straight to that.
Since we're on the books, let's talk about the books.
Let's go ahead. Thank you.
I have a Christian fiction sci-fi trilogy that launched. The first one, Appointed Time, was on August 30th. The second one is Race Against Time, was launched on October 1st. And then just last week on the 25th of January was Out of Time. And when I first mentioned the concept to my husband, he's like, is that even possible to do Christian fiction sci-fi? And I'm like, I'm a sci-fi geek. I own it. Those are my people. And I'm a Christian at heart. So I put the two passions together. And how I explain to it is it's almost like Stranger Things minus the Mind Flayer portion of it meets X-Men. And it's about this Professor Noah Roth, who's trying to initiate these gene in babies that gives them like special gifts. And he's able to finally, it takes about 20 years, he's finally able to do it in 4 of them. And there are 2 nurses in there, and they figured out what's going on because he does it under the guise of a fertility clinic. And he picks women who have little to no family. So when they get pregnant and something happens, he's actually seeded the experiments, which means he's legally their father. And all of a sudden, these particular kids' moms start to suddenly die of natural causes. Yeah. And they figure this out. Well, they can only take 2 out of the 4. So they take 2 of them and want to give them a normal life because they know that this guy is cruel. They're going to grow up as lab rats and they don't want that. So then it turns into a nature versus nurture. The same gifts or the same type of gifted ability kids, but 2 are growing up in a lab and 2 are growing up in a small East Texas town called Willow Bend. And I tell people that Appointed Time, things start to blow up. They go like massive blowing up in Race Against Time, and everything goes nuclear and Out of Time.
Wow, that is something else. What inspired you to do this?
Like I said, I'm a sci-fi geek. And so I thought, that magical what if question. For my newsletters, I always do a treehouse question, which allows them to get to know me. And one of them was, if you had any superpowers, what would it be? And I thought, well, that's a no-brainer. Mine would be levitation because I'm lazy as all get out. If I'm sitting down, I don't want to have to get up against something. If I just levitate it to me, it's great. And so the gifts that I have are levitation. There's telepathy. There's empath to like the nth degree. There's ones where their mind works so fast, it's almost like a supercomputer, and they can predict the future within 99.9% accuracy. There's the mind kids can actually take memories away if you need to, and they can put thoughts into it. So it's almost like the gift of persuasion is what I call it. If they tell you to do something strongly enough, you have no choice. You just do it against your will. So these gifts in people can either be good or bad depending on the core of the person. And that's what the main kind of theory is. Some of these kids, what are they going to do with the gift? It's not the gift that's good or bad. It's what they do with it and who they are at their core.
Wow, that's powerful. So I would think that your readers taking away from this have some life learning lessons.
They usually do. I'm one of those authors that really isn't afraid to touch certain subjects. I have an abortion issue in Forever Changed or Forever Fall. I deal with the sex trade in the Divine Legacy series. And this particular one, like I said, you deal with gifts, but it also deals with there's a police officer. So then it's the moral question of, you're a Christian, but there are times where you've had to kill somebody. How do you justify that? Or like a military person, how do you justify that? And so I go in there and I touch a lot of subjects that people are afraid to touch. I just do it. I have no problem. I blow down the walls. I don't like being walled in. Instead of being in the box or out of the box, I just throw the box away and burn it. I don't operate in a box. And so, it's like my partner and I, on one of the podcasts I'm on is called Book World, The Great Escape. And we're talking today about that particular thing. And I said, look, life is like life. And it's not necessarily good or bad. It's how it's perceived. So from a Christian point of view, it's still life. It's just how it's dealt with.
There you go. And on that note, I find this so fascinating. We're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and I would love to hear if there's research involved and everything to all this when we come back.
Hi, I'm Charles Brinkfield.
And I'm Rox Berkey.
Together, we write as Brinkfield and Berkey.
Our techno-thriller series is 12 books strong, with book 13, The Enigma Tracer, planned for 2022.
Techno-thrillers are the cyber good guys versus today's darknet thugs.
We added our series prelude, Out of Poland, a 1939 historical novella, in 2021.
We also have 8 short stories available in family and women's contemporary genres, with more planned for 2022.
Please visit our website, enigmaseries.com, to learn more about why we say technology is today's weapon of choice. Thank you.
Welcome to B4R.store, a bookstore for indie readers and indie authors, where indie authors can earn their fair share from the books you purchase. We have a wide variety of genres that you can select from. We also have ebooks and paperbacks. You can select authors by their first names, and we also have music. If you're interested in their city or country, we have that listed as well. If you are an author and would like to be on our bookstore, we have 3 options for you. There is a small minimal charge, or you can join our organization at authorsmarketing.org and learn how to better market and sell yourself. That is B4R.store, a bookstore for indie readers and indie authors. Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new books by indie authors. Your hostess for today's show is Diann Floyd Boehm. We hope you do enjoy today's show.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Indie Beacon Radio Show with your host, Diann Floyd Boehm. And I'm here tonight with our fabulous author, CJ Peterson. Welcome back, CJ.
Thank you. I'm having so much fun.
I'm enjoying speaking with you. So we ended with this incredible story that you're talking about, the launch of your new book. Mm-hmm. Is there research that you have to do for this sci-fi, or you're just so knowledgeable in it now you don't have to worry about it?
Well, as I explained before, I'm like a geek to the nth degree. I'm sci-fi queen. You ask me about Torchwood, Warehouse 13, you can ask me about Star Wars, Star Trek, Stargate, all of it. I got it.
Wow.
Stranger Things, I pretty much memorized. So there's X-Men. You know, I grew up a sci-fi geek, and I'm even actually a cosplayer on Star Trek Pathfinder. I'm the Lieutenant Commander, Chief of Security on Star Trek Pathfinder on Facebook. We do what are called like live action storyboards, or memisodes as they're called. And so I cosplay Star Trek. So, you know, it's in my blood. And like I said, it's just as strong for me as Christianity is for me. So putting the two together, you know, there's not very many Christian fiction sci-fi out there. Yes, there are some. You know, we do know there are some out there, but they're not very well known. And so I'm just like, you know what? Christian kids need books too, who like sci-fi. So, you know, I'm like, let's do it.
I love that. Absolutely love that. And it's so exciting. But how on earth did you have the time and the energy to be able to write 3 books all at once? Is that what I understood?
Yeah, I write them. I try to write. When I wrote the trilogy, the Holy Flame trilogy, I did them and I put the books out as I finished them. So it was 1 consecutive, then 2, then 3. And then with Grace Restored series, I thought, oh gosh, I should have changed this in this one. But the books were already on 1 at a time and I couldn't go back and fix them. Mm-hmm. And so I just kept the pattern going for Divine Legacy series, because I'm like, well, I'm already in this pattern for this particular group of people. So when it came to Sands of Time trilogy, I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to change something, I want to already have it before it goes through the editing process and gets published. If I need to go back and change, I need to do it now. So I wrote actually all 3 in about a month and a half.
Wow. Wow. That is amazing.
That's that.
Truly.
That's the ADD portion of me. The ADD portion kind of lets me write as if I'm watching a movie, and the OCD portion makes sure that the content is correct. If the person's hair is blonde in the beginning, it's blonde at the end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that sort of thing. And it just, I write, I'm a pantser, Pantser when it comes to writing. There's usually planners or pantsers, where I literally sit down, pray, and type till I can't type anymore. Then I'll put it up, and then I'll take it back down, read the last chapter, and I'll just keep typing away till I can't type anymore. And somehow God makes it all flow together.
So you have your angels helping you write as you go.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, and the characters, I mean, they take on a life of their own. There are some that I intended to only be in like one book, and they're like, oh, no, honey, I'm in this whole series. You're going to take me all the way through. And I'm like, all right. I'm also known as a literary assassin, so some of my hardest problem is trying not to kill certain characters. So it gets fun. Well, there's some that are actually based on real people in my life, and they know who they are.
Uh-oh.
And they're like, one of them was when I was doing the research for the police academy and police officers. One of the officers that I talked to, I'm like, I'm going to make you her field training officer. He said, you can. However, I know you, and you cannot kill me. I'm like, seriously? I'm like, all right, fine.
But then you had to research and understand the training, right? So that you could write it correctly.
A lot of my research is just stuff that I've already known because of my varied background. Part of it is the military and the medical comes from my husband, who's a retired Navy senior chief. He was a medic or a doc for the Marines. And so he did a lot of combat. And so he's able to fill in a lot of the medical and the military aspects of things.
Nice.
And then if it's something that I don't know, like police officers, I actually didn't just interview one, I interviewed 3. And one of them was a female because the character in this book is a female. And she's going to police academy, and I wanted the female perspective. So if I don't have the right insight into it, I will try to find somebody I can actually sit down and talk with.
That makes perfect sense. Also, because you write them so closely together, do you find it difficult to come out of that world and be yourself, or do you just live in this world for a while?
Remember those 20 tabs I mentioned earlier? Sometimes the tab just sits open for a while. And like I said, then I come back and read it and keep going. And then there are some times where you're in that twilight point of waking up or going to sleep and the story hits you. Well, I have a Post-it note app on my phone, or I'll text my husband a note to remind myself in the morning. And that helps sometimes trigger. Also, songs sometimes help trigger certain scenes. For example, Carrie Underwood's Blown Away actually inspired Seasons of Change, the first book in the Grace Restored series.
I love that. God
of Angels Armies did Angels Among Us. So, you know, there's no telling, but if a certain song is, I keep a playlist going in my ear, and that allows the ADD portion of me to tune out the rest of the world when I need to. And my husband knows when I'm in that zone. So he tends to leave me alone.
I know that feeling. I'm glad you mentioned some of your other books. Is there some of the books you would like to share with us in this segment? I would love to hear about it. Which ones maybe are your favorites?
That's like asking which one's your favorite child.
Oh, that's true.
Speaking of child, I do actually have children's books we haven't talked about yet.
Yes, we're going to get to those.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much time we have before we break, but
about 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Okay. Chief and Sarge, 3 minutes. Chief and Sarge are 2 little stuffed animals. I collect monkeys when my husband and I go on trips. I absolutely love monkeys. They're ornery. They get into stuff, that sort of thing. Well, we went to Camp Pendleton in Pennsylvania, and they had this little monkey with a USMC kerchief. When he was a doc, he actually worked 20 of his 24 and a half years in the Navy with the Marines. And so we got him, and we named him Sarge after the Marine Corps. And we're taking pictures on the way back, going to the Grand Canyon, just very, he was very naughty little monkey. Anything that kids could get into that they weren't normally allowed to get into, he could, because he was a stuffed animal. Nobody really cared. People fell in love with Sarge. And so I had to get him a brother, so I got him Chief. To counter his orneriness, I got Chief, and I made him a koala, which which is very laid back. And so we literally have these stuffed animals, and I call them the little guys in the backpack because I carry them around in our backpack, and we go on adventures, and they can get into places that little kids want to get into, but they can't. And someone goes, you need to turn these into books. So the first book we did was Cruising, where we literally took them on a cruise ship. People remembered them. People get their pictures taken with them. Sometimes they end up in the books. That one won for Best Children's Travel Book 2021 and third place for children 6 to 12 years old for 2021. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. A new one I just launched on the same day as your book, Song of Peace. And we launched them on the same day. And that one has illustrator changeover to Davy Jones, who does Charmy's Army. Phenomenal job. And that one is A Day at the Race is a Lesson in Friendship. So we're pretty proud of those.
Absolutely. And again, congratulations. You deserved all of these awards because I personally have started reading your books and I can't put them down. So I just want to share with you how
I get varied reactions. Teens would tell me they've thrown them across the room because they haven't had the next one in their hands. So
what can you say, right?
Love it. As an author, you got to love that kind of response. So that means I'm hitting you at your core if I get you mad enough to throw a book.
That's absolutely right. Well, we're going to be taking a break, but I'd like you to come back and share with us about some of your other books, as well as Texas Sister Press, if you'd like. That would be awesome. Thank you, CJ.
Marianne Fairmouth is a career consultant with 30 years experience in the national recruiting world, a multi-award-winning author in multi-genres, and a speaker that gives presentations to help you succeed. Her book, Revolutionary Recruiting, made the top 20 global list of recruiting books. Find her on Amazon, your favorite bookstore, or at fairmouth.com. Authors Marketing International, a membership-based organization where members learn how to better market and sell themselves. Join us at authorsmarketing.org.
Each and every one of us has a mission in life. Mine is to help people laugh through the good times and the bad. My name is Charlotte Canyon, and I am an author, a speaker, and a host on Indie Beacon Radio. If you need me to speak at an event or autograph my book, you can contact me at charlotte@charlottecanyon.com. Thank you, and have a blessed day.
Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new books by indie authors. Your hostess for today's show is Diann Floyd Boehm. We hope you do enjoy today's show.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Indie Beacon Radio Show. And we are here with our guest author, award-winning CJ Peterson. And she's been sharing with us all her books. They are phenomenal. So before we hear all about your publishing company, share again your book that you just launched.
It was the one that just launched was Out of Time. That's the third book in the Sands of Time trilogy, which is a Christian fiction sci-fi trilogy. Yes, it can be done, and yes, I did it. So it's where pretty much I tell people, and you've already heard it, where it's Stranger Things minus the X-Men, minus the Mind Flayer meets X-Men. So it happens, and it happens all throughout the country. I tell people in the game of chess, there's moves and counter moves. The winner is the two sides are the gifted children versus the Professor Noah Roth, their creator. And who's going to win? You have to read the books to find out.
Absolutely right. And how can they get a hold of these books?
Then go to my website, cjpetersonwrites.com. That's cjpetersonwrites.com. Underneath books, on the drop down, we'll do series books, and that has all the series is listed.
Fantastic. And also, people, make sure you go to her website and they can join your newsletter, correct?
Definitely. I do a bi-weekly newsletter. I tell people, unless you signed up for the blog, which that does whenever I post, it'll do the Friday that I post, you will not hear from me except for every other week, and I've held firm to that because I don't like people that spam. They get one email every other Friday at 10 o'clock.
There you go. I love it. And how did you get into the whole publishing world? Weren't you just happy just having someone else publish for you?
I was, but I was still an indie author. So basically, the person that I was paying was doing all the formatting and that stuff. And my sister's like, "Hey, you're great at marketing and you're great at social media, and I'm great at formatting. Let's put them together." So we're like, okay. So we looked at the different aspects of what we wanted or what we would have wanted being an author coming into the publishing world. And so for our authors, when they sign up, they get like one of the things they get that's unique is 10 hours Zoom to do marketing branding course. And so we try to basically set up our authors to when their book launches, they've got already a base of social media and it's streamlined. The other thing we do for them is a live book launch. And it's not just them and us, it's them and us, and we pull in other authors, which allows them to cross promote within the authors.
That is really wonderful. Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned it's for indie authors, but your publishing company is really, there's a word for it they call now a hybrid. Mm-hmm. Hybrid, right, thank you. I knew I was going to get that. Hybrid.
There's your traditional ones where they pay you for the book. There's your vanity, which pretty much takes anybody. Mm-hmm. We don't. We're actually pretty selective on where our line is for what we take. And one of the main goals that we had as publishers is we wanted to put quality work out there. Being indie authors, there are some indie authors who do not put out quality work, whether it's the cover, whether they skipped the editing because it costs too much. It hurts the entire author world as a whole when stuff like that's put out. So when they come through Texas Sisters Press, our slogan is quality books for the family. We want to make sure that they understand, people know that when they pick up a Texas Sisters Press book, it's quality. They also know that there's a certain line that we will not cross. Originally, our joke was that if our 86-year-old mom could read it and not blush, we were good.
I love that.
That's our line, and that's what we keep.
That is wonderful. So anyone out there listening is looking for quality, Texas Sister Press is the place to come to. Yep. But going back to your books now, do you foresee any of these becoming movies? Because I know I do.
Honestly, if any producer wants to get a hold of me, it's cjpetersonwrites@yahoo.com. Message me. We'll talk, because I would love to see these in movies. One of the things now that people know, or I try to make sure that they do know, is a portion of the proceeds go to different charities. Those are noted right before their series. Books are listed on the series. And, I would love to see them go in movies because A, the message is getting out, and B, the charity will also still get a portion of that.
Absolutely. That's incredible. Not many people let you know that they are, when they purchase your books, they're actually helping other people at the same time, correct? Well, I do hope that happens for you. And I personally have read some of your books, and I so can see them as a movie. So my hat's off to you, and I want to congratulate you on your new series. I'm just so excited about it, and I bet people were on pins and needles to get this third book in their hands, correct?
They were. It was a unique aspect when, especially at the Comic-Cons, they were intrigued. Same as my husband, like, is that even possible? And I'm like, yes, it is. There is one quote that I have through all three books, and it's by Robin Sharma that says, "Time slips through our hands like grains of sand, never to return again. Those who use time wisely are rewarded with rich, productive, and satisfying lives." And that pretty much is it in a nutshell.
Wow, that is
you make the choices. Yeah, you make the choices that you make, and that's how your life turns out.
I am going to remember that. And on that note, I am so sad we have to bring this to an end because I could keep talking to you forever. You're such an inspiration. And I know everyone listening is going to want to grab your books. Thank you so much for coming tonight. And I hope you'll come back to our show real soon.
Definitely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching the Indie Beacon Show, produced by B. Allen Bourgeois for the Authors Marketing International, LLC. Copyright 2022. Voiceover by B. Allen Bourgeois. If you would like to be a sponsor of the show, please contact us at authorsmarketing@outlook.com. If you would like to be on this show, it is free to authors. Simply fill out the form at indiebeacon.com. The music is provided by Happy Follows, The music is entitled